For over 2 decades, so for at least like 23 years of my life, I was so insecure of my race and just who I was as a person. And I've never felt like I fit in. I've never felt like I was good enough. And that actually stopped me from me pursuing my hobbies and my dreams and my goals. I always wanted to be an entertainer. I always wanted to be in front of the cameras, be an actor, tell stories. I've always been a social person, so I wanted to, express my personality and meet people, make people laugh. But for most of my life, I was so insecure to be myself and actually do that. I was insecure to do the things I loved. Do you know how fucking sad that is? And I think there are many other people as well that are also going through this. I went out for a beer with my flatmate a couple days ago, and we're talking about insecurities and things that I personally overcame, and he was telling me his as well. And he's a bit older than me. He's like 30 years old now. And even he, like, I was expecting him to be like way past it. I was like, oh, you probably can't relate. Like, I feel like we figure things out in the early to mid 20s. And he told me like it wasn't only until a year or two ago before he was fully comfortable with who he was as a person as well. And so I know there's going to be people watching this as well. Like, I don't know if it's like a hobby you have or something that you like to do in secret, in private. Hell, my YouTube channel, I started in private and I still don't tell any of my friends. Only a couple people know in real life about my YouTube channel. Because I still have that weird insecurity, that weird feeling of, oh, what if they see this? What will they think about it? And it still stops me, but I've been able to overcome that. And a big thing for me to be able to be comfortable in my own skin and not worry about other people's thoughts and judgments about how I act, how I speak, the hobbies and actions and passions I pursue, was literally moving overseas and traveling. Now, I know the general advice for people in their early 20s, mid 20s is to save up their money and don't have fun and just focus on the grind on your business and be financially successful before you have your fun. And I somewhat disagree, because yeah, if you focus on that, you may achieve your business goals or whatever you're trying to like work towards. Maybe that comes a little sooner. But you miss out on so much, and you miss out on a lot of character development. I know you build a lot of character through working in your craft and your passions as well, but there are other parts in life, like relationships, socializing, being comfortable in your own skin, being vulnerable, understanding who you are as a person. And I truly believe if I didn't go on my solo travel trips to America and Southeast Asia and Europe and met these people and was literally abandoned and was just really ripped apart from my own upbringing in Australia and put in a new environment. And so it allowed me to become the person I really wanted to be. And like, I had no filter. I had no weird social judgment stigmas in my mind. I was fully comfortable with who I was, and I just expressed myself. And I really learned to love myself as a person, not be self-conscious of myself anymore. I know I use a lot of weird jargons there, but hopefully you get the message. And moving to a new country in London last year. I moved towards the end of 2023, but technically beginning of 2024. And that was last year was the first year I fully felt comfortable in who I am as a person, like no insecurities. Yeah, I might get the odd doubtful thoughts here and there, but everyone does. But in terms of like who I am as a person, the soul, the core, I'm so comfortable with who I am now. I love being Asian. Like, that's not any longer a thought. Like, when I would go up to speak to girls and stuff, the first thing I would tell my mind, like, I self-sabotage. I tell myself, like, this isn't going to work out. They're not going to like me because I'm Asian. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Because in my mind, I've been telling myself that being Asian is a bad thing. It's seen as unattractive. And not only with, like, girls and stuff like that, just being comfortable around other people, talking. I'd always lie about myself because I didn't want to come off as, like, weird if I ever, talked about my Asian traits. I was just scared to do YouTube. I was scared to post content online because I was afraid, I'm Asian. That was literally the only reason that was stopping me. How stupid is that? And if I didn't travel, if I didn't move overseas to another country, I don't think that ever would have changed. Because I would have still been in the same environment that caused me to have those thoughts in the first place. I got bullied when I was younger for being Asian, so that's why it became a big insecurity. And I was surrounded by non-Asians. Like, my sister and I were the only Asians in school. And so I'd complain about my eye shape, my hair color, the food, my nose shape. Fuck, my parents didn't fucking help out either. Like, I remember I'd come home from school and my mum would always like pull my nose down to make it more pointy, I guess. So like, even they, without realizing, they had good intentions, but they were also putting it onto my brain. And for my whole life, I hated who I was as a person. And that stopped me from like doing my fucking hobbies. I loved playing soccer or football. And I didn't even join a soccer team. I stopped. I played soccer for a few years when I was like 5 years old to like 8 or 9. And when I got to high school, when some of my friends were like asking me to join their soccer teams, like in school, outside of school, like I always said no, even though they wanted me to play, and even though I wanted to as well. Only because I was Asian. I was insecure of myself. I thought, you're Asian, everyone else here is white, and oh, there's no like Asian football players. Like they're gonna think I'm bad, or no one want me in their team. That lasted. That didn't just stay in high school. That lasted all throughout my life until last year. And I'm telling you, traveling and changing your environment will solve that issue. I promise you. I can't think of many other things right now. It's 11:16 p.m. So I can make a full video about overcoming your insecurities and and being proud of who you are as a person and not being afraid anymore. Because I know that is a big issue. You know, a lot of people want to be YouTubers or create content. They see the new wave of online content and personal branding, how it can lead to a life of freedom, and yet people are still afraid to pick up a camera. They'll come up with excuses like, I don't have a camera, I don't have a professional mic. I'm literally holding an iPhone with no microphone right now. The light I'm using is coming from my laptop. So there is literally no excuses. There isn't. And yet people still stop themselves. I know it's because of their insecurities and their self-doubt. You know, I talk about procrastination a lot, and you know that is something I suffered with as well, ADHD too, all these other things. But at the end of the day, it was my perception of myself, my own self-image. I was telling myself I wasn't good enough because of the things I couldn't change about myself. It's ridiculous, right? And I think many other people, maybe you can relate to that, maybe you can't. But at the end of the day, I've overcame that. And if you need more help as well, one-on-one, then click the link in the description, because I'll literally help you with it. I've literally went through that myself, and man, I've achieved to do, you know, I think I've lived a pretty successful life in terms of most people's standards, right? And I still want more. Yeah. Anyway, that was late night thought. Good night. It is actually fucking late. I love y'all. Stay safe. Be proud of who you are.